Maybe if you looked better, we'd include you. My sister laughed at the reunion. I'd paid for her plastic surgery. I posted her before photos and the receipts. She deleted her social media. Sup, Reddit. So my sister decided to publicly humiliate me at our family reunion after I spent $47,000 making her Instagram ready. When she told everyone I wasn't invited to her wedding because of how I look, I reminded the internet what she looked like before I bankrolled her entire face. The meltdown was spectacular. Here's how it went down. I'm 28 female, the older sister of what I'll call plastic fantastic, 26 female. Growing up, we had completely different experiences with the genetic lottery. I got dad's sturdy build and mom's practical features. Not ugly, just unremarkable. The kind of face you'd forget 5 minutes after meeting me. Brown hair, brown eyes, average height, built like someone who could help you move furniture without complaining. Meanwhile, Plastic Fantastic got what she considered the worst of both parents. Dad's weak chin that disappeared into his neck, mom's prominent nose that dominated her face, and some unfortunate hormonal acne that left scarring well into her 20s. Plus, she was short and stocky like dad's side of the family, with fine hair that never held a style. But here's the thing about being the plain sister. I learned actual skills. Got good grades because I couldn't coast on looks. Developed a personality because I had to be interesting to get attention. Became funny because humor was my social currency. Built a career in software engineering that pays stupid money because I knew I'd need to rely on my brain instead of my face. By 25, I was pulling in $140,000 working remote for a tech company in Seattle while living in Austin, where my dollars stretched like yoga pants. Had my own condo, reliable car, healthy savings account, and enough disposable income to actually enjoy life. Not bad for someone who peaked academically instead of physically. Plastic Fantastic? Different strategy entirely. She spent high school convinced that her appearance was a temporary obstacle that would magically resolve itself. College was 4 years of waiting for her glow-up, while majoring in communications. Basically an expensive degree in talking pretty for cameras. The complaining was constant and exhausting. Every family gathering turned into a therapy session about how unfair life was, how pretty girls got everything handed to them, how she'd be successful too if she just had different bone structure, like the universe had personally screwed her over by not making her look like a Kardashian. If I had your confidence, I'd be running companies by now, she'd say at holiday dinners, somehow making my career success sound like a personality defect. Lady, my confidence came from actually accomplishing stuff and building competence, not from waiting for a magical face transformation to qualify me for success. Our family dynamic was pretty standard middle-class dysfunction. Mom and dad both worked regular jobs. Dad sold insurance for State Farm. Mom did bookkeeping for 3 local businesses. They were decent people who loved both daughters, but had no framework for dealing with Plastic Fantastic's constant appearance-related drama. Every conversation somehow circled back to her looks. Sarah got another promotion? Well, some of us weren't blessed with natural confidence and perfect skin. That's how she'd respond to any good news about my career. Like my success was directly proportional to my willingness to leave the house without Instagram filters. The ironic part? I actually thought she looked fine before the surgery obsession started. Sure, she wasn't going to model for Vogue, but she had nice eyes and decent features. The real problem was her personality. She was so focused on what she didn't have that she never developed what she did have. Spent more time researching cosmetic procedures than building any actual skills or interests. High school was brutal for her socially. While I found my tribe among the debate team and AP kids, she struggled to fit anywhere. Too insecure for the popular crowd, too appearance-focused for the academic groups, too shallow for the artsy kids. She'd come home crying about parties she wasn't invited to, boys who didn't notice her, girls who were prettier, and therefore more successful at everything. Mom would try to comfort her with platitudes about inner beauty and waiting for the right person, but Plastic Fantastic had already decided that surgery was her path to happiness. She'd researched every procedure available, knew exactly which features needed correcting, and had detailed plans for her post-surgery life as a beautiful person. I just need someone to believe in me, she'd say during particularly dramatic family dinners. If I could just fix these few things, I know I could make something of myself. I have so much potential, but nobody sees past my face. Mom and dad felt terrible watching their daughter struggle with self-confidence while her older sister was living her best life, which apparently meant having a successful career and not spending hours each morning trying to contour away genetic reality with YouTube makeup tutorials. When Plastic Fantastic graduated college with a communications degree and no clear career path, the surgery conversations got serious. She'd moved back home, couldn't hold a job for more than 4 months, and spent most days scrolling through Instagram, getting increasingly depressed about other people's lives. The research was extensive and obsessive. She knew exactly what work she wanted done, had consultations with 3 different surgeons, and could recite pricing down to the penny. The total for her full facial reconstruction, her words, not mine, came to about $45,000 at the surgeon she preferred. Dr. Martinez was supposed to be the best in Texas. Board certified, worked on celebrities, had a waiting list longer than most restaurant reservations. Plastic Fantastic had been following his work on Instagram for 2 years, analyzing his before and after photos like she was studying for medical school. That's when the family guilt campaign started targeting me. The hints were subtle at first. Comments about how lucky I was to be naturally confident, how some people needed more help to reach their potential, how family supports family through difficult times. Mom would mention casually how much Plastic Fantastic was struggling with dating apps, job interviews, basic social interactions, because she was so self-conscious about her appearance. "You've been blessed with so much success," Dad said during one of these conversations, using his insurance salesman voice like he was closing a deal. "Maybe you could help your sister get the fresh start she needs to build her confidence." The implication was crystal clear. I should pay for my sister's plastic surgery because I was financially successful, and she wasn't. Because apparently my career achievements meant I owed her a new face as some kind of sibling reparations for winning the genetic lottery I hadn't actually won. Christmas dinner that year was basically an intervention. Extended family members casually mentioned how generous I'd been helping with various expenses over the years, how family money should stay in the family, how investing in someone's happiness was the best gift you could give. Plastic Fantastic sat there looking pitiful and hopeful, occasionally mentioning how transformative the surgery would be for her career prospects, dating life, general mental health. She'd researched everything: the recovery process, the results timeline, the psychological benefits of cosmetic surgery for people with body dysmorphia. Here's where I probably should have recognized the manipulation and said, hell no. Any reasonable person would have looked at this coordinated family pressure campaign and realized how completely insane it was to spend 50 grand on someone else's face. But I genuinely felt bad for her. She was miserable, couldn't maintain employment, had no dating prospects, and seemed stuck in this cycle of depression and self-loathing that was painful to watch. Plus, I had the money. My tech salary was ridiculous, my living expenses were reasonable, and I didn't have kids or a mortgage sucking up my income. So I said yes. Not just yes, but enthusiastic, supportive yes. Told her I wanted to help her feel confident and happy, that if surgery would give her the fresh start she needed to build a real life, then I'd cover the entire cost as a gift. No repayment expected, no strings attached, just sisters supporting sisters through life's challenges. The reaction was immediate and emotional. Plastic Fantastic cried, Mom cried, Dad gave me this proud speech about being a generous daughter and a wonderful sister. Everyone acted like I'd just performed some incredible act of familial love instead of enabling what was probably an unhealthy obsession with appearance-based validation. But I genuinely thought it would help. I thought once she got the surgical work done, she'd feel better about herself and start building an actual career, instead of waiting for her face to qualify her for the life she wanted. I was so fucking wrong about everything. The surgery consultation process took 4 months of appointments, planning sessions, and medical evaluations. I went with her to every single visit, holding her hand through discussions with Dr. Martinez about realistic expectations, recovery timelines, and potential complications. The procedure list was comprehensive and expensive. Rhinoplasty to completely reshape her nose, chin implant to strengthen her practically non-existent jawline, cheek implants for facial definition she'd never had naturally, upper and lower blepharoplasty to fix her droopy eyelids, extensive laser treatments for acne scarring, lip augmentation, and enough Botox to paralyze a horse. Dr. Martinez was careful about managing expectations, repeatedly explaining that surgery couldn't solve deeper confidence issues or guarantee life success. He made her sign extensive consent forms, acknowledging that cosmetic procedures were medical interventions with real risks, not magic solutions to personal problems. Plastic Fantastic nodded and said all the right things during these consultations, but I could see she wasn't really hearing the warnings. She was already mentally living in her post-surgery life as a beautiful person with unlimited opportunities and social media success. The surgeries were spread across 10 months to allow proper healing between procedures. Each operation required weeks of recovery time, multiple follow-up appointments, and sometimes revision work when initial results weren't quite perfect. I took vacation days to drive her to appointments, stayed overnight during recoveries, brought groceries and medications when she couldn't leave her apartment. The financial damage was brutal and comprehensive. Initial surgeon fees, anesthesia costs, facility charges, post-operative care, revision procedures when healing didn't go exactly as planned, plus all the ancillary expenses, prescription medications not covered by insurance, specialized skincare products, compression garments, time off work for both of us. Every payment felt significant. $8,500 for the rhinoplasty, $6,200 for cheek implants, $4,800 for the chin augmentation, $7,300 for eye work, $12,000 for laser treatments spread across multiple sessions, $3,200 for lip work, $5,300 for various Botox and filler treatments during the process. By the time everything was complete 14 months later, I'd spent $47,300 turning my sister into a completely different human being. The number was burned into my brain because I kept meticulous records of every expense, partly for tax purposes, and partly because the amount was so staggering I needed documentation to believe it myself. But I genuinely didn't mind spending the money. Watching her excitement after each procedure, seeing her slowly start to smile when she looked in mirrors, observing her gradual confidence building, it felt like the best money I'd ever spent. She seemed happier, more optimistic, finally ready to start building the successful life she'd always claimed she wanted. That optimism lasted exactly as long as it took for the final swelling to subside and reality to set in. The physical transformation was dramatic and undeniable. Dr. Martinez was an artist. Plastic Fantastic went from aggressively plain to legitimately stunning. Not just improved or prettier, but genuinely beautiful in that Instagram influencer way that stops conversations when someone walks into a room. Her new nose was perfectly proportioned. The chin implant gave her an actual jawline. The cheek implants provided definition she'd never had naturally. The eye work made her look more awake and youthful. The laser treatments had erased years of acne damage. And the lip work gave her that full-lipped pout everyone was trying to achieve with injections. She looked like a completely different person, which I guess was exactly the point of spending $50,000 rebuilding someone's face from scratch. But instead of becoming more confident and genuinely happy, she transformed into something else entirely. Vain, superficial, and mean in ways she'd never exhibited before the surgery. Like getting a beautiful face had unlocked personality traits that had been dormant during her years of insecurity. The change wasn't immediate or obvious at first. Initially, she was just excited about her new appearance, posting selfies constantly, finally comfortable taking pictures without filters. I was happy for her, proud that my investment had worked out the way we'd hoped. She started getting attention from guys who'd never noticed her before, landed a job at a trendy marketing agency downtown, and began building the active social life she'd always claimed she wanted. For the first few months, everything seemed perfect. But then the entitlement started creeping in like a slow-moving infection. She began treating service workers differently, talking down to waitresses and retail employees with a condescension that was painful to witness, made cruel comments about other women's appearances, analyzing strangers' faces, and discussing what procedures they needed to improve themselves. The first time she made fun of someone's looks in front of me, I called her out immediately. That's not who you used to be. Remember what it felt like when people judged you for your appearance? Why would you do that to someone else? Her response was chilling. That was different. I had real problems that needed professional correction. Some people are just lazy about their appearance and don't want to put in the work to improve themselves. Like her genetic lottery tickets had been moral failings she'd overcome through superior character development and smart financial investments. Never mind that the financial investment had come entirely from my bank account. Family dinners became uncomfortable social experiments in watching someone's personality completely change. She'd make little comments about other relatives' appearances, suggest diet plans for cousins who hadn't asked for advice, offer unsolicited recommendations about skincare routines and makeup techniques. Mom and Dad were thrilled she was so confident and outgoing now, but I could see she was just being cruel to people who looked like she used to look. It was like she was punishing everyone else for the insecurity she'd experienced before her transformation. The social media presence exploded into a full-time obsession. Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook. She was posting content constantly, building a following based entirely on her surgically enhanced appearance. Fair enough, beautiful people have been monetizing their looks since the beginning of civilization, but she started taking full credit for her transformation, like she'd achieved it through hard work, dedication, and superior lifestyle choices. The glow-up posts were particularly galling, motivational content about investing in yourself and not accepting less than you deserve. and becoming the best version of yourself through commitment and self-love. Not once did she mention the $47,300 I'd spent making that transformation possible. According to her carefully curated social media presence, she'd simply decided to level up her life and somehow manifested an entirely new face through positive thinking, excellent skincare routines, and strategic makeup techniques. The influencer success was real and growing. She hit 50,000 followers within 8 months, started getting paid partnerships with beauty brands, landed modeling gigs for local boutiques and restaurants, finally had the Instagram lifestyle she'd always dreamed about, complete with sponsored content and followers calling her goals and queen and other social media superlatives. But she was becoming impossible to be around for extended periods. Every conversation became about her appearance, her follower count, her brand partnerships, her latest photo shoot. She'd critique my clothes during casual visits, suggest I invest more in my appearance, offer to give me makeover advice like she was doing charity work for the aesthetically disadvantaged. "You could be so pretty if you just tried a little harder," she told me during lunch one afternoon, examining my face like a doctor looking for symptoms. "I could help you find your style, maybe get you started with a better skincare routine. You've got good bone structure, you're just not maximizing your potential." This from someone whose entire face I'd purchased retail, like a custom car modification. The dating situation was equally ridiculous. She'd started seeing this finance bro named Bryce who'd slid into her DMs after her follower count hit 6 figures. Typical guy who collected beautiful women like trophies, posted shirtless gym selfies constantly, drove a leased BMW he couldn't actually afford but needed for his image. They were perfect for each other. Two shallow people who'd found each other through social media and built a relationship based entirely on how good they looked together in photos. Every date was a photo opportunity, every restaurant was chosen for its Instagram potential, every outfit was coordinated for maximum visual impact. When she announced their engagement 6 months later, I was genuinely happy for her despite everything. Told her I'd love to help plan the engagement party, contribute to wedding costs, whatever she needed from her big sister. I was trying to maintain family relationships, even though she'd become kind of awful. Her response was delivered with the casual cruelty of someone who'd gotten so used to being beautiful that she'd forgotten what it felt like to be on the receiving end of appearance-based rejection. "Actually, we're keeping the engagement party pretty exclusive. Just our most attractive friends and family members. We want really good photos for social media, you know? It's important for both our brands." I stared at her, trying to process what she'd just said, while my brain struggled to accept the audacity. "Are you saying I'm not invited because I'm not attractive enough for your engagement party? It's nothing personal against you specifically. We just have a very specific aesthetic we're going for, and we need everyone in the photos to meet certain visual standards. You understand, right? A specific aesthetic." She was curating her engagement party guest list based on who would look good in Instagram photos, and her sister who'd paid for her face wasn't pretty enough to make the cut for her own family member's celebration. I hung up without another word and spent that evening looking through my bank statements, adding up every expense related to her surgical transformation. Surgery fees, recovery costs, follow-up appointments, revision work, medications, time I'd taken off work to care for her during healing periods. $47,300 in total, with receipts for everything. I also went through old family photos, finding normal pictures of her from before the surgeries. Not unflattering or deliberately mean photos, just regular family snapshots from holidays, birthdays, and gatherings that showed what she actually looked like for the first 24 years of her life. Then I waited for the perfect opportunity to remind everyone where her beauty had really come from. The engagement party happened without me, obviously. I saw the photos on her Instagram story. All beautiful people in perfectly coordinated outfits, professional lighting, strategically posed shots that looked more like a magazine spread than a family celebration. She looked absolutely stunning. Bryce looked predictably douchey in his expensive casual wear, and every single guest had clearly been chosen for maximum photogenic impact. The aesthetic cohesion was undeniable. Everyone was conventionally attractive, well-dressed, and camera-ready. The captions were all about being surrounded by love and grateful for family, and blessed to have such beautiful people in my life. No mention of the sister who'd made her beauty possible being deliberately excluded for failing to meet appearance standards. But that wasn't my breaking point. The breaking point came 2 months later at our cousin Mike's wedding reception. Mike was Dad's nephew getting married to his college girlfriend Sarah in a sweet ceremony followed by dinner at the local country club. Normal family wedding stuff where everyone shows up, eats too much cake, and makes small talk with relatives they see twice a year. I arrived early to help with setup, made conversation with aunts and uncles I hadn't seen in months, took pictures with my grandparents who were proud of their granddaughter's career success. Standard family gathering behavior. Plastic Fantastic showed up fashionably late with Bryce in tow, both of them dressed like they were attending a red carpet premiere instead of a small family wedding in suburban Texas. She'd brought her own photographer, not for the wedding couple, but to document her and Bryce for her social media content. The photographer followed them around the reception, getting shots of them dancing, eating, interacting with family members who met their aesthetic standards. It was bizarre watching someone treat a family wedding like a personal photo shoot opportunity. I tried to be friendly when she approached me near the dessert table, genuinely hoping we could be civil for one evening, despite our recent conflicts. "Hey, you look great. How's the wedding planning going?" She looked me up and down with an expression I'd never seen from her before. Pure, undisguised disdain. Like I was something unpleasant she'd discovered stuck to the bottom of her designer shoe. "Oh, about the wedding," she said, speaking loudly enough for nearby relatives to hear every word. "We've been finalizing our guest list, and we're really trying to keep things exclusive and high-end." "Okay," I said slowly, sensing this conversation was heading somewhere bad, but not quite believing she'd go there at a family event. "The thing is, we're working with this amazing photographer who specializes in luxury weddings, and he's really focused on the aesthetic cohesion of the guest list. We need people who will photograph beautifully and enhance the overall visual story of our day." Cousin Lisa was standing right there, pretending to examine wedding cake flavors, but obviously listening to every word. Uncle Jim was within earshot, along with several other family members who'd stopped their own conversations to tune into what was becoming an increasingly uncomfortable interaction. "What exactly are you saying?" I asked, giving her one last chance to walk back from whatever cliff she was approaching. She smiled, but it wasn't kind or sisterly. It was the smile of someone who'd gotten so accustomed to being beautiful that she'd completely forgotten what it felt like to be on the receiving end of appearance-based cruelty. "I'm saying maybe if you looked better, we'd include you in our special day. But we need our wedding photos to be absolutely perfect, and having certain people in them would just compromise the overall quality of our visual story." The words hit like a physical slap across the face. Not just because of what she said, but because of how she said it. Publicly, casually, with that condescending smile like she was doing me a favor by explaining why I wasn't good enough to attend her wedding. Cousin Lisa actually gasped audibly. Uncle Jim looked genuinely shocked. The entire dessert area went silent as people processed what they'd just witnessed. A bride-to-be explaining to her sister why she wasn't attractive enough to attend her own family member's wedding. But Plastic Fantastic wasn't finished delivering her masterpiece of cruelty. "I mean, I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from. This is supposed to be the most important day of my life, and I need absolutely everything to be perfect. Maybe you could work on yourself between now and then? Hit the gym more consistently? Invest in some professional makeup consultations? I could give you some recommendations from people I work with if you're interested." That's when I reached my absolute breaking point with her bullshit. "You know what? You're absolutely right. I should definitely work on investing more in personal improvement. In fact, I think I'll start by sharing some really inspiring transformation content on social media. People love those dramatic before and after stories." Her smile faltered slightly as her brain started processing the implications of what I'd just said. "What do you mean by that?" "Oh, just some throwback content about amazing transformations and the investment it takes to achieve them. You know how popular those glow-up posts are these days. Very inspirational for people who want to change their lives." I walked away before she could respond, but I could feel her watching me leave with growing unease and dawning realization. She knew exactly what photos I had access to, exactly what financial records I possessed, exactly what story I could tell about her transformation. She just didn't know I was planning to tell that story to everyone. That night, I sat in my apartment with my laptop, crafting what would become the most nuclear social media post of my entire life. I started with a side-by-side collage, 4 photos on the left, showing Plastic Fantastic before any surgical intervention. Normal family pictures where she looked like a regular human being, not unflattering angles or deliberately bad lighting, just honest images of what she actually looked like for the first 24 years of her existence. 4 photos on the right, showing her current appearance after $47,300 worth of professional facial reconstruction. The kind of stunning selfies she posted constantly, professionally lit and expertly photographed, looking like a completely different species of human being. Then came the receipts. Screenshots of every single payment I'd made to Dr. Martinez's office over 14 months. Surgery fees, facility charges, anesthesia costs, follow-up appointments, revision procedures, medication costs. Each expense carefully documented with dates, amounts, and detailed descriptions of what each payment had purchased. The total at the bottom, highlighted in red, $47,300. The caption was simple and devastating. Since my sister thinks I'm too ugly to attend her wedding, here's a friendly reminder of what she looked like before I spent $47,000 making her Instagram ready. Apparently, investing $50,000 in someone's face doesn't buy you enough respect to attend their aesthetically cohesive wedding celebration. But hey, at least I know my money was well invested in creating such a beautiful person who values family so highly. Transformations Tuesday. Family first. Sisterly love, plastic surgery, receipts, money well spent. I tagged her directly in the post, along with several family members who'd witnessed her comments at the wedding reception. Then I shared it across Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, using her favorite hashtags about transformation and self-improvement and living your best life. The post went live at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night. By Wednesday morning, it had over 15,000 views and 800 comments. My phone started buzzing around 6 a.m. with increasingly frantic notifications. Plastic Fantastic was calling, texting, leaving voicemails that progressed from angry to panicked to absolutely desperate. I ignored every single attempt at contact while watching the engagement metrics climb steadily. The comments were exactly what I'd hoped for and more. Wait, she had you pay for her surgery, then said you're too ugly for her wedding? What kind of sociopathic behavior is that? The absolute audacity of criticizing someone's looks when you literally purchased your entire face. This is the textbook definition of biting the hand that feeds you. She owes you $47,000, a public apology, and probably therapy. The before pictures aren't even bad. She was just a normal-looking person who wanted to be Instagram perfect. Imagine being this ungrateful after someone gave you a whole new face for free. By noon, the post had been shared over 400 times across multiple platforms. People were screenshotting the receipts and reposting them with their own commentary about ungrateful siblings, plastic surgery drama, and family dysfunction. The story was trending in local social media circles where Plastic Fantastic had built her influencer following. Her own followers started flooding her recent post with questions about the surgery payments, whether she'd ever paid me back, how she could justify excluding me from her wedding after everything I'd done for her. The perfect aesthetic she'd carefully curated was getting contaminated with uncomfortable questions about the financial reality behind her transformation. The brand partnership started falling apart immediately. 3 companies messaged me directly asking if the receipts were legitimate, explaining they needed to reassess their relationship with influencers who weren't transparent about cosmetic procedures while promoting natural beauty products. By Wednesday afternoon, she'd lost over 8,000 followers and was getting roasted in the comments on every single post. People were going back through months of her content, screenshotting her claims about natural confidence and self-investment, and comparing them directly to the receipts showing she'd invested someone else's money in her appearance. The family group chat exploded into chaos. Mom was panicking about private family business being aired publicly. Dad was confused about why I'd kept such detailed financial records. Various aunts and uncles were weighing in with strong opinions about social media drama and family loyalty. But the absolute best part was watching Plastic Fantastic's response evolve in real time as her panic increased. Stage 1 was complete denial. She posted a long Instagram story claiming the receipts were fabricated, that I was jealous of her success, and trying to destroy her happiness out of spite. She accused me of photoshopping bank statements and making up surgery costs to embarrass her. That backfired spectacularly when people started reverse searching her older photos and finding the original images on various family members' social media accounts. Plus, Dr. Martinez's office was tagged in several of her previous posts, thanking them for life-changing work, which corroborated my entire story perfectly. Stage 2 was desperate minimization. She admitted I'd helped with some medical expenses, but claimed the amounts were wildly exaggerated and that she'd personally paid for most of the procedures herself. She tried to reframe my $47,300 investment as a small loan between sisters, rather than complete facial reconstruction funded entirely by my career success. That fell apart when people started doing basic math. Her job at the marketing agency paid maybe $38,000 annually. Even if she'd saved every penny for 3 years while living rent-free with our parents, she couldn't have afforded a quarter of what those surgeries actually cost. Stage 3 was misdirection and deflection. She tried shifting focus to my violation of privacy and public humiliation of family members. Posted lengthy stories about the importance of handling conflicts privately how social media drama was toxic and destructive, how people should support each other instead of tearing each other down. The irony was completely lost on her, and painful for everyone else to witness. The person who'd built her entire brand on public image was suddenly concerned about privacy. The woman who'd excluded me from her wedding for not being photogenic enough was preaching about family support and loyalty. Stage 4 was pure desperation. Direct messages, voicemails, showing up at my apartment building at midnight, crying and begging me to take the post down. She offered to pay me back somehow, uninvite Bryce's shallow friends from the wedding, even change the entire wedding concept to be more inclusive and family-focused. Too little, too late, and frankly insulting given how she'd treated me. The story got picked up by a local lifestyle blogger who wrote about Instagram influencer exposed for plastic surgery deception and family cruelty. Then a TikToker with 500,000 followers made a reaction video about entitled siblings who bite the hand that feeds them. The story began spreading far beyond our immediate social circles into broader conversations about social media authenticity, family dynamics, and cosmetic surgery ethics. Plastic Fantastic's follower count plummeted below 25,000 within a week. The brand partnerships disappeared completely when companies realized she was generating negative publicity rather than positive engagement. The modeling gigs dried up when local agencies decided she was too controversial for their clients. Most importantly for her self-image, the wedding started falling apart. Bryce, who'd been primarily interested in her as an aesthetically perfect trophy girlfriend, suddenly wasn't so enthusiastic about someone whose beautiful face came with public drama and financial complications. When people started tagging him in posts, asking if he knew about the surgery payments, whether he was planning to reimburse me for his fiance's appearance, he realized this wasn't the kind of attention he wanted associated with his personal brand. He broke up with her via text message 3 days after my post went completely viral. Classic finance bro behavior. No confrontation, no explanation, just a professionally worded message about needing to focus on career development and being unable to handle the negative publicity their relationship was generating. The engagement was officially over, the wedding was canceled, and all the non-refundable deposits were lost. Plastic Fantastic lost her fiancé, her influencer career, and her carefully constructed social media presence all in one devastating week. 2 weeks after my post went live, she deleted her Instagram account entirely. The final message was a Notes app screenshot posted to her story, taking an indefinite break from social media to focus on personal growth and repairing family relationships. Thank you for your understanding during this difficult period. Then she vanished from the internet completely. No more beauty content, no more lifestyle posts, no more professional photography. The online persona she'd built after her surgical transformation just disappeared, leaving behind a digital ghost town of deleted accounts and scrubbed content. The aftermath was complicated and messy, as family drama always is. Mom and Dad were initially furious with me for embarrassing the family and airing private business for the entire internet to see. They couldn't understand why I'd kept such detailed financial records or why I'd chosen public humiliation instead of private conversation to resolve our conflict. I reminded them that I'd tried private conversations for months. I'd attempted to discuss her increasingly cruel behavior, her treatment of service workers, her general contempt for people she considered less attractive. She'd dismissed every concern and continued treating me like garbage while taking full credit for a transformation I'd funded. The public humiliation only happened after she'd publicly humiliated me at a family event, in front of relatives, while explaining why I wasn't pretty enough to attend her wedding. Actions have consequences, even for surgically enhanced people. Some relatives sided with her, arguing I'd gone too far and should have taken the high road. Others acknowledged that her behavior had been completely unacceptable, and she'd brought the consequences on herself. The family became divided into competing camps with different theories about who was right and who should apologize to whom. But honestly, I stopped caring about the family political dynamics pretty quickly. The satisfaction of watching her perfect life implode was worth every awkward holiday gathering and disappointed parent conversation for the next several years. She'd become a genuinely awful person after her transformation, treating everyone around her like disposable props in her Instagram fantasy world. The fact that her cruelty and entitlement had finally caught up with her felt like cosmic justice being served with surgical precision. 6 months later, she moved back in with my parents after losing her apartment lease. The marketing agency had terminated her employment when the negative publicity started affecting their other client relationships. Without her influencer income and with no real job skills beyond looking good in photographs, she couldn't afford independent living. She tried reaching out several times over the following year, sending long apologetic text messages about how the attention and validation had gone to her head, how she'd lost sight of what really mattered, how she wanted to rebuild our relationship and make amends for her behavior. I read every message but never responded. Some bridges, once burned with sufficient intensity, can't be rebuilt with apology texts and promises to be better. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.